fossil evidence. Steve, you're wrong. You are wrong. Look what famous Harvard paleontologist, and he's an evolutionist too, he believes in evolution. He said, look, the extreme rarity. Well, wait a minute, guys. Steve, who's right? Steve in the room or Stephen Jay Gould? Was he right? You know what? There's all types of evolutionists that say the extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persist as the trade secret of paleontology everywhere. Now, was Steve able to show that on atheism murder is wrong? See, he says murder is wrong. He says rape is wrong in his videos. Steve, your videos are just digging you into a deeper hole, man. You really dug yourself into a hole with those videos. See, I did some homework on your videos, and Steve says that murder is wrong. Listen, Steve, on Steve's video on the moral argument, 3 minutes into it, he says people know murder is wrong. This is this experiential reality of this objective moral foundation. That's what Scripture says, that God has put that on our hearts. He even says in that video, it's really, really wrong. Now, Steve, what's interesting is later on one of Steve's videos, he says Christians are homophobic, bigoted, fundamentalist a-holes. That's what Steve said. Oh, Steve, would we have any doubt what you would do if you were the king of the country to us Christians? We'd probably all be thrown to the lions. Steve, you said in your video, 7 minutes and 35 seconds into it, you said that you believe Christians are homophobic, bigoted, fundamentalist a-holes. And yet you're trying to tell us about morality? Please, dude, you should be ashamed of yourself. Steve, you should be ashamed of yourself, man. Get some class. Get some dignity. We treated you with respect when you came in here, yet you're calling Christians homophobic, bigoted, fundamentalist a-holes? Steve, I'm going to give you a chance to apologize to the Christians in the room. Would you Christians like to hear an apology from Steve? I would. Come on, Steve. You said you're reaching out your hand of friendship to us. We want to hear an apology. Steve, come on. Were we nice to you? So I want, Steve, this is how we're going to build bridges. You're already wrong on the fossil evidence. This is the time to redeem yourself. So, Steve, I would like to hear you say, yeah, Shock, I'm wrong. Christians are not homophobic, bigoted, fundamentalist a-holes. My mom was really hurt when she saw that part, Steve. So come on, Steve, this is your chance to shine. All right, everyone's on the edge of their seat. Will Steve do the right thing objectively? Go ahead, Steve.
Shock's mom. I want to say at the beginning here, right before I get into my closing statement, I don't believe I ever said all Christians are homophobic a-holes. But if anyone would like to argue that some Christians are not, I would love to entertain that argument. I think I've shown in my conduct here, and I think in my conduct when I engage with Christians in general, when we have conversations, that I'm perfectly willing and capable of treating Christians with respect, even though I will admit, and it's not even really that much of an admission, because I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of, that I don't treat Christian beliefs with respect, just as Shock doesn't treat my atheism with respect, and I wouldn't expect him to, because he is not an atheist and I am not a Christian. But because the fact that I am willing to treat Christians with respect, and the fact that I have thoroughly enjoyed this exchange with Shock here, and wish that I could do things like this more often, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to mock Christian beliefs when I feel that it's necessary. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to apologize if I take a tone that at times is offensive to Christians. Of course, Shock's mom was offended by the horrible things I said about Jesus because she's a Christian and she believes in Jesus very much. And it only makes sense that she should be offended by that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to apologize for it. I think that in my time in this chat room tonight and in the visit I made earlier this week, I think I've demonstrated that I'm not an uncivil person. I'm not a classless person, that I do enjoy engagement, that I do enjoy the exchange of ideas, and that I have really enjoyed this debate with Shock, and the debates that I have with Christians in my Facebook page, on my YouTube page. It's something that I absolutely relish, and it's not something I would want to give up. If we say murder is wrong, then murder is wrong. Murder is wrong because we say it's wrong. And that is enough for me. That may not be enough for Shock. That may not be enough for the theists in the room. That is enough for me. If we say murder is wrong, then murder is wrong. Microevolution and macroevolution, the only difference between those is in terms of scale. To say that microevolution that causes an accumulation of beneficial mutations will not lead to macroevolution is just the same as saying that 1 penny plus 1 penny equals 2 pennies, but no matter how many pennies you add, you'll never get to $1 million. It's just a fallacy. It makes no sense. And thanks to Varjak for giving me that for giving me that metaphor a few years ago when we were discussing this. I think it's a really good way to put it. I've really enjoyed this. I think we're going to take questions after this, which I'm looking forward to. Shock, your reputation preceded you for me before this. I think you were mischaracterized by a lot of atheists who warned me not to go through with this. I have not found you to be unfair in the least. I've been treated very well here by the moderators and by you. And I want to wrap up here, as I said earlier, by extending a hand of friendship and saying that, and I understand why Christians are offended by things I've said. I don't take any of those things back. I stand behind them. I actually think I'm a lot less incendiary than a lot of YouTube atheists. But I've really enjoyed this, and I think that we've both conducted ourselves well. We've ended up right where I thought we would. Neither of us has moved the other, but I think it was a really good conversation. And once again, I want to thank you for inviting me, and thank you and your mods for allowing a few of my atheist buddies that I've noticed to come in here and watch and contribute. And I look forward now to the questions. So once again, thanks a lot.
All right.